Spring and summer 2024 fashion is all about frills and bows, girly stuff. I'm all in. I found this free summer dress pattern which checks all the boxes. It's the Milana dress by Vikisews and I've decided to make it. Hi, welcome to my eclectic channel. My name is Agnes and I make videos for fun. We've been working on the bodice. We sawed the darts and we prepared the facing. And now it's time to put it all together. Here I'm straying away from the instructions and I don't think I'll be coming back to them very much. I'm just building a different dress, even though the pattern pieces are similar. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take my front bodice pieces and they get stitched down the middle here. And in my case, the instructions I think say to stop because again, they're doing something different. But mine are gonna get stitched all the way, top to bottom, with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And given that I will be pressing that seam open, before I stitch them together, I am going to overlock that edge on each piece. And I've started my machine with my inexpensive white thread again for this purpose. I've pressed my front seam nice and flat, very nice and flat. Next, we want to bring in the back bodice. And all we're going to do for now is to attach the two at the shoulders. So the back bodice remains open. We get two pieces. So I'll stitch the shoulders and again, I'm going to overlock each piece before I stitch them at the shoulders. So here it is, my body's joined at the shoulders. So at this point I could work on two things. One would be the sleeves and two is the interfacing at the neckline. I'm going to start with the interfacing and then I'll do the sleeves. I don't think the order really matters that much. So here's my facing pieces. For this part I am following an excellent tutorial and I'm linking that in the description below. The way this is going to fit is like this. I have my front bib and then the back pieces, so you gotta line up the shapes, jigsaw puzzle, but that's how the pieces all go together. So the next step, since my bodice is joined at the shoulders, my facing also needs to be joined at the shoulders. Well, I'm not going to go as far as to put interfacing here. This is not a very, I mean, it's a fabric that has body. I am, however, going to work a row of stay stitches here because in the front, because it is kind of stretchy in this direction. In the back, I don't have that much of a problem. It doesn't, the grain falls in such a way that it's not as stretchy in the back. We're closer to the grain line in the back because the slope of the neck is not as shallow. I'll do that for good measure before I attach the facing. All right, now we are ready to rock and roll. If you found the tutorial and maybe gave it a watch, I recommend it. You'll see that she goes a big deal about how you want to, not the facing, if this may or may not be open, but she says your neckline should be entirely finished and form a circle. Ours just doesn't. These two don't even connect in this pattern, so I'm going to leave that open. In a way, it makes it a little easier. So I'm leaving that open, and my facing is also going to stay open in the back, and in the front we've got the V-neck. So I'm going to be pinning these together with right sides facing, matching up nicely at the shoulder seam, and pin all around. The ties are going to be going in at this stage. We're looking at the back bodice, and this is the armhole. You want to take the back tie, and on that side, this is the part of the back bodice that goes in the back, where the tie goes. And you will notice that in the pattern, and on this pattern piece, there's a little angle here. It goes straight and then it angles for the V in the back. So right where we turn the corner to start the V is where you want to place the tie. And obviously this is the raw edge. So align the raw edge of the tie like that, starting it to where we have this little corner. Once you have that lined up, then you want to take your facing and you put it right sides together with the back bodice, and you make that little sandwich, and now you're ready to go ahead and pin all around and attach the facing to the bodice. So I went ahead and I pinned at the shoulder seams. I don't have any fancy pins thingy, so I just put a double pins, one on either side of the seam, so that it doesn't shift when I sew. But then before I finished pinning, this is the front, and I went ahead and I drew where I'm going to stitch. I'll be able to follow this guide. So I went, our seam allowance for this project is 1 centimeter. So I went 1 centimeter off the edge, and then I drew the point best I could. So I'll finish pinning and then we'll be able to stitch this. So I worked my entire line of stitching from back waist back to the back waist and all around. But I'm going to follow the advice in the tutorial, and I'm going to reinforce the V at the front of the neckline. And to do that, I'm just rerunning a second line of stitches along the line that I drew earlier. I've trimmed my seam allowance, and then the next step is to understitch. And this is not in the tutorial, but I find it really helpful to press it. So I've pressed all of my seam allowance so that it's laying flat on the interfacing side. Now I'm going to go and do my understitching. And here it is, pressed and secured, as described in the tutorial. I secured it at the shoulder seams, and then I also secured my facing at the front, because we do have a seam allowance here in the front center that we can work with. This is not going to be flapping around. So pretty happy with my finishing. This is the inside understitch. I could have used blue thread, but it's on the underside, and I kind of like the look. Again, I used the longer stitch length because it's just about securing. So now we're ready to work on the sleeves, and we'll work on that next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like.